Hey everyone, it's Mr. Hollywood, and today I will be doing the MCU Trilogies Ranked. And before I even start talking about it, I just want to say that we are 1 week away from the release of Black Adam, and I personally am very excited, and I will be doing a DCEU ranking next week after Black Adam comes out. But anyways, let's just get started. And also, before I start ranking the trilogies, there is one important note that I should mention, that I will be including Thor and Avengers, but I will not be including the fourth movie as the deciding factor, meaning the fourth movie does not affect it. And also, I'm actually doing it showdown style, and whichever team has the least amount of points, because fifth, fourth, third, second, first, will be the winner. And anyways, let's just get started for talking about the first category, which is the Rotten Tomatoes scores. In last place for Rotten Tomatoes is the Thor trilogy, averaging a 78.66 repeating score, with the first Thor film gaining a 77%, Thor the Dark World only gained 66, and Thor Ragnarok gained a 93. In fourth place is the Iron Man trilogy, averaging an 81.33 repeating percent, with the first Iron Man gaining a 94, the second Iron Man gaining a 71, and the third Iron Man gaining a 79. In third place is the Avengers, with the first Avengers gaining a 91, the second Avengers gaining a 76, and the Avengers Infinity War only gaining an 85, and that averages out to an 84. Coming in at number 2 is the Captain America trilogy, with Captain America the First Avenger getting a 79, and Captain America Winter Soldier and Civil War both got a 90, with the average Rotten Tomatoes score being an 86.33 repeating. But coming in at number 1 for Rotten Tomatoes scores is actually the Spider-Man Homecoming trilogy, with Spider-Man Homecoming gaining a 92, Spider-Man Far From Home gaining a 90, and Spider-Man No Way Home gaining a 93. That averages out to a 91.66 repeating. So, after one round, Spider-Man is in first, followed by Captain America, Avengers, Iron Man, and then Thor. Now, round 2, the consistency. Now, I'm looking at it as the trilogy as a whole, of was it consistent enough? And in last place is the Thor trilogy again. I just don't think this was the most consistent trilogy, especially because there was a director swap out for all three. And even though Thor Ragnarok was really funny, it kind of isn't really compatible with the first two Thors, considering it kind of feels like it's trying to reboot. And the first two Thors, while it feels like they're similar in concept, it still feels like it undoes it a little bit. So yeah, anyways, it comes in at number 5 for consistency. Coming in at number 4 is actually going to be the Avengers. Now, the execution is great. However, if you look at it as a trilogy, it feels a little bit inconsistent compared to the other three, which we'll talk about in just a bit. And I think part of the reason is obviously Joss Whedon did the first two, and then the third film was done by the Russo brothers. And you can kind of see it because there's all of a sudden all these new characters, which even though they did build up in Civil War, if this was just a trilogy on its own terms, it would be number 4 in consistency. Coming in at number 3 is the Captain America trilogy, which has a similar thing where the first Avenger was directed by a different director, but Winter Soldier and Civil War definitely feel like it's on its own terms. And I also think part of the reason it's bumped down a spot is because the first Avenger was set in the 40s, and then second, third was set in the 21st century. And like it feels like if it wasn't for the Avengers, it would be a little less fleshed out. And then coming in at number 2 for consistency is the Iron Man trilogy, where Jon Favreau directed the first 2, but then Shane Black directed the third one. And you can kind of tell that it was by a completely different director. However, I feel like all of them have to do with the Avengers Initiative, or the first 2, and then the third would be a continuation after the Avengers. So that's why I put it above the others, because it all feels like they're all in its own term, in to a degree. But coming in at number 1 for consistency is the Spider-Man Homecoming trilogy. Now you go from all of them actually feel like they're leaving off to the one before, also with the same directors. Now the first 2 obviously deal with Tony Stark as a mentor, one before Endgame and one after Endgame. And then the Spider-Man No Way Home actually is a continuation of Mysterio revealing the identity. So I feel like this is easily the most consistent. Now after 2 rounds, the Thor trilogy remains in last place, followed by the Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, and the Spider-Man Homecoming. But round 3, the first movies, and because I'm ranking the movies and it's gonna be a little harder to keep track, I'm just gonna tally it up, and then I'll tell you the final results at the end. Coming in at number 5 for first movies is the first Thor. Now this actually is a pretty good movie, but it is nowhere near as good as the other 4 first movies in the trilogy. Now, it does actually do a good job of introducing Thor and Loki and exploring Asgard, but once it cuts to the Earth stuff, it does get a little boring, and I feel like the final battle felt a little rushed. Coming in at number 4 is Captain America: The First Avenger. Now, this does a great job at developing Steve's origin. And even the Red Skull plot I actually found pretty interesting. And obviously this ties into the Avengers. However, I do feel like the other 3 were much better written, as some of this stuff, I feel like the montage went a little too fast. But yeah, anyways, this was still a really good movie. Coming in at number 3 is Iron Man, the film that started the whole MCU and is basically the godfather of not only the MCU, but also post-credits, as there wasn't really post-credits before this. And obviously this is a great job of exploring the whole MCU as a whole, and I do need to give props to it for that. Coming in at number 2 is Spider-Man Homecoming, a film that did a great job of exploring the perspective of Peter Parker as a high schooler, and the Vulture was a really good villain, and they actually introduced some great characters with Ned and MJ in this universe, and the relationship between Iron Man and Tony Stark was great, like always. So yeah, this movie comes in at number 2. But coming in at number 1 for the first films is The Avengers. Now, before this, there weren't really that much team-up films, and it was actually kind of the impossible job at the time, and it's also kind of funny because of the version Joss Whedon's became after the fact. But anyway, this film was really great, and it does deserve to be number 1 of the first films in the trilogy. Now for the second films, and this round had a little less competition. And anyways, coming in at number 5 for second films is Avengers: Age of Ultron. Actually, now I think it's more of a fact because it just feels a little disappointing after how good the Avengers was, and Ultron's origin was completely rushed, and you can kind of tell that there was a longer script because this script was like 3 hours, but they trimmed down 45 minutes, and you can kind of tell because some of these scenes were very rushed, and the final battle wasn't as good as I think it could have been. But anyways, there's still some really good action with the Hulkbuster, and this obviously introduced Wanda and Quicksilver, though Quicksilver was wasted, obviously. But anyways, this comes in at number 5 for second films. Coming in at number 4 is Thor: The Dark World, and I understand that this might be your least favorite, and this is pretty darn close to my least favorite. Actually, I wouldn't say that, but anyways, it's nowhere near my favorite. But I do actually think Malekith is not the worst villain like some people say, and anyways, like Jane in this was actually okay, an okay character in this, as we finally got to see her on Asgard, and Thor's mom's death was really cool to see, and well, obviously not for Thor, but it actually does add on to his character, and the death of Loki was actually really emotional, even though he obviously came back. However, Kat Dennings' character was in this movie way too much, and the final battle was one of the worst final battles in all of the MCU. Coming in at number 3 is actually Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now, I fully respect that this might be your number 1, and even though this isn't even the number 1 in this category, I still understand why a lot of people love it, but I just don't have that same connection with it. But however, it does do a great job of like introducing Hydra, and this is when the MCU got more serious. Well, I wouldn't say introducing Hydra, because in Captain America: The First Avenger, Hydra exists, but exploring like Steve Rogers' perspective in the 21st century, that people aren't as trustworthy, and a lot of the action with Cap and Bucky in this was they nailed it. But anyways, this comes in at number 3, and for second movies in trilogies. Coming in at number 2 is Iron Man 2, and I understand this might be your least favorite. However, the villains did not bother me, and like I don't really get it why this is people's least favorite. I thought the action was really good, and I even thought our villains were really good, even though they were wasted. And this is on it, obviously, the first time we got to see Black Widow, and we got to see War Machine for the first time in the suit, and well, next time, baby. I mean, it was actually, it obviously introduced Don Cheadle in the MCU because obviously Terrence Howard was the roadie before it, and which makes his line a little more sad after he never really got to be in the suit. But anyway, this does do a good job of continuing the first film and building on into the Avengers film. But coming in at number 1 is Spider-Man: Far From Home. Now, I think this does a great job of exploring Peter's character arc and like what people's reactions would be after the events of Avengers Endgame. And obviously, the post-credit scene was one of the most impactful after what happened to Peter's life in Spider-Man: No Way Home. And Mysterio was one of the best villains in the MCU. So this easily comes in at number 1 for second round movies. Now for the third movies, and this has the most competition by far. And you guys might be a little sad because of the competition. But in last place is Thor Ragnarok. Now, granted, this is still a really good MCU film. Now, I enjoyed all 5 of these. And this was one of the hardest decisions. But, anyways, it was very funny and the action was great. And obviously, after the first 2 films, this actually, seeing a really good Thor film for once was really good. And also, Hela was a really good villain, and obviously this tied into Avengers Infinity War, and Asgard got destroyed. However, I do feel like the other 4 stood out a little more. Coming in at number 4 is Iron Man 3, and it actually kind of improved after Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings brought Trevor Slattery back. Anyway, this film was really good, and it also tied into the events after the Avengers, and this is where Tony had to be a little more serious because he was alone for most of the movie, and then he bumped into a kid, and the final battle with the villain and all the Iron Man suits was really cool. And I think this film would have been higher if it didn't feel like they were trying to end, because they wanted to make an end to the Iron Man trilogy in case Robert Downey Jr. didn't continue, which he did. Which anyways, plot lines were kind of abandoned after this movie, but I still really enjoyed it. I still really enjoyed it. Coming in at number 3, and this is tougher. This is very tough. But coming in at number 3 is Captain America: Civil War, and this is still in my top 5 favorite MCU movies. These are 3 of my top 5 favorites. But anyways, this did a great job of exploring the Avengers. One after Avengers: Age of Ultron. And just why they would break up, and the airport battle was really well done. And even the final battle with Tony and Cap, it was actually really emotional, where Tony feels a little betrayed after after he realized who killed his parents. And this obviously ties into the Sokovia Accords, and this obviously causes the Avengers to have to rethink themselves, because coming in at number 2 is Avengers Infinity War, and this kind of ties in this Civil War, because the Avengers broke up and they had to get back together because the Mad Titan was trying to blow up half the world. But anyway, Thanos carries the film. Thanos is the best villain in the MCU without a doubt, and this movie just does a great job of introducing his arc, and you actually feel some tension when he loses at the end, where he gets all 6 stones, and it was a dream come true for people like me to see it on the big screen. But coming in at number 1 for third films, and this is my favorite MCU film so far, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Seeing Andrew and Toby was mind-blowing, and just seeing all these villains from the older Spider-Man films, to see them come back was really great, and obviously the 3 Spider-Man swinging was over the top. And what elevates this film, the final battle, is the fact that they did build up for all 3 of these characters, and once Aunt May died, you do feel a lot with what happened in all 3 of their lives after they all lost someone very important, making you feel something for the final battle. But anyways, this does come in at number 1 for third films. Now, after 3 rounds, or after 5 rounds, this is how the score stands. So, I've tallied all the points, and after 5 rounds, these are the results. In last place is the Thor trilogy, getting a total of 24 points. And, well, fourth, third, and second all got the same amount of points at 15. And because I don't do ties on this channel, the tiebreaker will be determined by my vote. So in fourth place is the Iron Man trilogy, getting 15 points. In third place is the Captain America trilogy, also getting 15 points. In second place is the Avengers trilogy, which also gets 15 points. And the determining factor for my vote is based on their best movie and just how I feel on the trilogy as a whole. And coming in at number 1 for this MCU Trilogy Showdown is the Spider-Man Homecoming trilogy, getting just 6 points. Where 4 of the 5 rounds they got number 1. And that's the ranking. Now, I really enjoyed doing this showdown style, and if you ever recommend me to do this in the future, I will do this in the future. If not, then I might just do it based on like how I just do my other rankings. But anyways, that's my ranking. Thanks for watching, and peace out.